Right, time being 8:30, welcome councillors, staff and official guests. When we commenced our sitting term on the 16th of April, I invited people from the community, specifically the Christian community and formal acknowledgement of country, to come and lead us at the commencement of our term. And I thought that that's a fitting thing, that as we enter each year and we turn the page on the year prior, that we do the same again. So joining us today to lead us in prayer, representing the Anglican churches and residents of the Barcaldine Regional Council, Mrs. Trish Miller, and to lead us in an acknowledgement of country, Ms. Renelle Padaway. So could you please make them welcome? Thank you very much for coming along. And as we officially open the meeting, could I please, Mrs. Miller will also be leading us in prayer, not only our standard prayer for the opening of the meeting, but also to recognise Australia Day. So if I could ask us please to be upstanding and let Mrs. Miller lead us in prayer.
Almighty God, we acknowledge that we have a responsibility to look after your creation, especially this region we call Barcaldine Regional Council. We are also conscious that our decisions are going to affect deeply the lives, land and property of the people we have come here to serve. Remind us to exercise respect for each of our fellow councillors, staff and for the people of our region. Help us in this meeting to act wisely, justly and intelligently in all our deliberations. Thank you, Lord, for the privilege of both leading and serving, and assist us to do these well. Amen. Amen. A prayer for Australia Day. We bless you, God of the universe, for this land, for its contrast of landscape and climate, for its abundance of wealth and opportunity. We bless you for our history, with all its struggles in adversity, its courage and hope. Give us, in our diversity, tolerance and respect for each other, and a passionate commitment to justice for all. Bless us so that we might be a blessing to others. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Councillors, could I please ask you to stay upstanding for the next two parts, but to acknowledge the condolences, our bereavements since our last meeting. Former Aramac Shire Councillor, the late Mr. Alistair Donald Alexander from Willoughby, Aramac, the late Mr. Raymond Sigrid of Jericho, and the late Mr. John McKay from Mulgrave, Barcaldine. Are there any others?
Mr. Winner, Jim Winner.
Did Jim the last meeting? If not, I'll ask for Jim Winner's name to go in, but I'm confident
It was the last meeting, I'm sorry.
Okay, if we could please observe a minute silence. Thank you. Slightly improper introduction before, but representing the First Nations people to acknowledge, to lead us in acknowledgement of country, please, Ms. Renelle Padaway.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Firstly, I would like to begin by acknowledging and paying my respects to the traditional owners, the Inigo people, on the land which we are gathered here this morning. I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to my families, the Frasers and Thompsons, past, present and future, who for many generations have been the custodians and caretakers of this beautiful traditional country. I acknowledge and pay my respects to the Indigenous and non-Indigenous elders, past, present and future, plus extend my respects to you all here today for your first council meeting for 2021. For those who don't know me, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Renelle Putalai, nee Fraser. I'm a proud Indigenous woman and a descendant of the Bidjara people. I was born here in Barcaldine on Inango country. I would like to thank the Regional Council for asking me to do this acknowledgement to country. I'm very honoured in a way that I have asked my ancestors and spiritual guides to protect you on your journeys throughout our spiritual lands. 2020 was not a good year for us on Mother Earth, with the devastating impact of the pandemic. But one thing I can say, that the people in the Barcaldine region were blessed with 0 cases. This pandemic affected us in so many ways, but the resilience of our country folk led us to stay positive to lead into 2021. And it has also shown us and taught us many things. On some positive notes, I'd like to reflect on some of those positive things that we can take into 2021. One is the environment, which the pandemic had put a halt on the world of Mother Earth and gave it time to rejuvenate. And the biodiversity is slowly starting to return, especially in different parts of the world. Number 2 would be peace. The armed forces and conflicts were put on lockdown, which generated peace. 3, connectedness. It brought families closer together, and they were allowed to be at home more often with their families and loved ones. Innovation. Small businesses had to reinvent themselves, like cafes turning into small takeaway shops. Number 5, corporate responsibilities. We're exposed to a new way of carrying out duties and delivering on their key stakeholders, the communities, the employees, consumers, and the environment. Reimagined education. Everyone had to learn for a new way of learning. Was transformed in education and the new ways of learning through online education, educational games, and tasks for self-learning. And the last one, I think we should all look at gratitude. It was a new sense of appreciation and gratefulness. It offered us a new perspective on what we had taken for granted. Our freedom, our leisure, our connection, work, family and friends. So hopefully we continue to work together to end this pandemic, to exhibit new levels of gratitude and better health. So in closing, can we all please stay positive, rebound and return with greater wisdom, new strategies, and appreciate the luxury for us to be able to gather here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors, staff. Thank you, Trish and Renelle. Thank you very much for leading us with those words and leading us in prayer. So thank you very much. Just might adjourn the meeting for a moment, please. Sorry, so I skipped over one item intentionally so that we could keep the ceremonial things proceeding, but there are no apologies, I would assume, because all councillors are present and correct. Declarations of prescribed COIs, please, starting with Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that I've got a prescribed conflict of interest this week in matter 3.3.6, progress report, 3.5.1, the works report goal 3, and also 3.3.8, the Outback Queensland Tourism Association. The nature of my interest is that my connection with Lake Dunn Sculpture Trail, which is mentioned in those reports and also spoken about throughout the OQTA level, in accordance with the section 150 of the Local Government Act 2009, I will leave the meeting, stay away from the meeting while this is being discussed and voted on.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Plum?
No, thank you.
Mr Mayor, I have a prescribed conflict of interest in 3.11 and 3.12, the industrial and residential land sales. In part because of my employer, Michael Horman Transport. Although not a tenderer on those units, he had the intention of doing so but missed the cut-off. And just so that we have a clean slate and there's no perception of any impropriety, I will be leaving the room and taking no part of the discussion.
Would you also suggest that the employer relationship is what you would be defining as a close associate? Is that what you're doing it on the basis of? Like neighbour or no, just employer?
Just employer,
Okay.
Mr Mayor.
No more, just M2?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
I don't believe so, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hick? No?
I don't believe so, Mr Mayor.
Councillor
Mr Mayor, I'd like to acknowledge a prescribed conflict of interest in 3.3.6 for two reasons. One, that there is maybe some small equipment there that I could tender on in the future, and also there's discussion there about the Port Street pathways. My home is in Port Street. So for those reasons, I'm declaring a prescribed conflict of interest and I will be leaving the room.
So I don't skip ahead in the agenda, is 3.3.6, the project progress report.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Back to me. No, that I'm aware of. Declarations, are other councillors, do other councillors wish to raise matters that they believe another councillor may have as a prescribed conflict of interest for their diligence and attention? Being none, I'll start again with the Deputy Mayor. Declarations of declarable conflicts of interest. Clear? Councillor Plum, clear? Councillor
No,
Arthur,
Mr Mayor.
clear? Councillor Hanson, clear? Councillor Gleeson?
Mr Mayor, with the 3.8.1 District Manager's report, if there is any mention, any questions asked about the care draft building, I will take directions, or I could be removed from the room, but...
Which code, sorry? 3 which?
It's 3.8.1, just
Okay.
District Manager's report. It's just a report. If there was any questions asked, maybe I would have a declared conflict.
With more around decisions. There's no decisions in that report, it's simply information only. I'm happy to move that Councillor Gleeson remain in the room for discussion of that, to receive the report. Councillor Hanson seconds. Those in favour? Carried. 6-0. Remain is the code. Councillor Peebles.
No, Mr Mayor, I don't think I've got any declared.
And that's back to me. I don't think I do either. Actually, I'm confident I don't, unless someone else wants to raise one. Are any councillors, do any councillors wish to raise the possibility of another councillor having a declarable conflict of interest in any matter? No? Well done, councillors. Thank you very much. A lot of diligence going into reading our agendas in terms of assessing for those issues. Confirmation of minutes. Can I please have a motion to receive those minutes from 16 December? Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Rogers. Any, those in favour? Carried, 7-0. Any errors or alterations or omission? There being none, can I ask somebody move that we confirm those minutes, please? Councillor Gleeson, Councillor Hanson. Those in favour? Carried. When councillors have a petition to present or officers? None, thank you. Reports. 311, I believe we've got a prescribed conflict of interest from Councillor Arthur. Thank you, Dan. Councillors, I would suggest that it would be appropriate that we close the meeting under section 254J, subsection 3, subsection G. Negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving a local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. And do I have support, or would we like to stay in open session?
We have support for that.
Thank you. Councillor Hanson moves that we close. Councillor Gleeson seconds. Does anyone wish to speak against the resolution to close? Those in favour? 6-0. For the 3,500 square metre parcels, we set the reserve at, or we offer it for sale at, the figure of 52,500. Do I have somebody move that, please? Councillor Peoples, second, and Councillor Plum. Will there be debate? Those in favour? 6-0. Thank you. No, he's out for this one too, I reckon. Can I have a resolution, please, that we move into closed session for the purposes of discussion around agenda item 312 using section 254J, subsection 3G. Move Councillor Gleeson, second Councillor Rogers. Those in favour? Carried. Yes. Can I have somebody move, please, that we move into open session? Move Councillor Plum, second Councillor Gleeson, all in favour? 6-0.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, should we have something written there that we actually don't accept all the other tenders?
Yes, correct. Thank you very much. We'll pick up. Third dot point, please, Jess. Councillors, the resolution as presented there is that Barcaldine Regional Council agrees to enter into an agreement prepared by our solicitors with Genco and Sons for the purchase of the 6 parcels of land in Mahogany Court for a figure of $40,000 per parcel over 5 years, with council receiving payment per block on completion of each building. We delegate to the CEO the power to negotiate an option fee per parcel per year, and we do not accept any of the other tenders for any of those remaining parcels of land. Do I have a mover? Move to Councillor Rogers, second, and Councillor Hanson. Any discussion? Debate? There being none, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. Councillor Hanson, Rogers. Not Rogers either. Arthur, thank you. Didn't start with that, have I?
Sorry?
I haven't started that well, have I?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have somebody move that my information report be received? Move to Councillor Peoples, second Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Questions? I have nothing really to comment on. Oh, well, only as it's mentioned there, we moved our alert status under the Local Disaster Management Plan to stand up without activating our LDCC. We briefed up to the State Disaster Coordination Centre on 6 occasions around the situation. I'd just like to place on record now my thanks and gratitude to the staff who who were called in between Christmas and New Year and over New Year. And those staff who were called from leave and came back up to 2 weeks early in some cases, with administration staff going above and beyond in posting road updates to our electronic platforms at 9:30 at night. The acting CEO and chief engineer were opening roads at all manner of hours of day and night, just simply to ensure compliance with our road signage. I'm referring specifically to the Landsborough in that case. And so in that period, I was seeking briefings from Christmas Day forward, literally on Christmas morning, and then again on Boxing Day. It was an event without an event. It was good rain. Rick and I kept saying the real reason for this was to ensure that if there was an incident specifically in Muttaburra or Aramac at the point where they were isolated, the Aramac Road was cut right here at Lagoon Creek for some period of time, and it was certainly isolated to the north and to the west for a very long period of time, with Prairie Creek and the channels of Muttaburra and Bullock Creek, and a number of roads were cut, and that included not only TMR roads, but of course damage to our road network. So we stood up to be ready to activating in case that there was an emergency. We've debriefed on that. It was a multi-agency response. Barcaldine Regional Council, Transport, Main Roads, Queensland Police Service, all activated, some to staff to some degree. Realistically, Rick, I think it went seamlessly, really, given the time of year it was. And some people shouldn't have a licence to drive. We all were in agreement on that. They certainly shouldn't be allowed out of the city anyway. Other than that, I really want to commend and ask the staff present to report back to their areas my gratitude, and that on behalf of all of you and visitors and ratepayers in the region, because there was an extremely intense amount of work that were happening when the most important period of leave for the year for a lot of staff, and we pulled them away from their families and brought them in over wet roads to really help the community keep mobile while we could. So I'm very grateful for that. Any other questions? Comments? Now somebody move 331, Acting CEO's Information Report. Councillor Plum, second Councillor Rogers. All in favour? Harry, Brett, have you got anything you want to lead us through?
Mr Mayor, I'll just run through QUT students. We've got the second two students, one at GBA and one at Council. I think Rick can probably comment, but it's been very successful so far. We've got some really good options. I think one of the students has got a job at Tongariro, is that right?
Yes.
So, unfortunately not here, but at least moving from the city into the bush, and I think that's good that the program is working and that we've given them a taste of what it's like to work in a rural area, and hopefully we'll get some more students who want to live and work out here. As you see, we've changed up the finance reports a little bit. So with Sarmad starting as finance officer, I'll get him to come over when we do the finance, and then ask councillors to comment on those. With the Drought Communities program, I've got an extension of that program to June so that we can finish a couple of those projects that haven't been completed. So they were the things that aren't complete are the solar. We've still got solar installation, the jetty at the rec park, the community signs, the LED signs that we've ordered for each community. So we had we did have a plan. We met with Main Roads. That plan was wiped then because the signs were in the vicinity of TMR road, so they have to approve them. They had issues with them being a distraction to drivers, so we've had to rethink where we put those signs. So hopefully we've got some new sites. And of course the other one was the Alpha Community Care Building, which is completed now.
It was very, very close.
It was close.
It nearly could have been close, couldn't it?
Anyway, so that was $1 million that we received from Drag Communities program that we had a number of projects allocated for. With the rec park, Christmas Eve, we received our water transfer licence. It was about 1 o'clock on the 24th of December. So that was all approved from Agon. So we've got that allocation that the water going into the rec park is a legal allocation of water. The community care audit, we still haven't received the final report on that. I was expecting that before Christmas. The auditors are still working on that. Hopefully we'll get that this week. So I can report back on that when we do get that final report. The Australian Workers Heritage Centre, so that entrance project's almost completed. So we've done a bit of, we've had a couple of meetings with them. Jenny and I have met with them about how we can help. So just with gardening, and they needed rocks for the entranceway, so we've helped them out a little bit there. Our safety audit in February, that is a major audit. So they'll be here for a week doing an audit on our workplace health and safety. It's the government independent auditors. It's critical that we pass that audit.
And the other 5 councils that are selected in our cohort, because if any local government in Queensland fails, the whole lot fail.
So it's an audit of the scheme, the local government work care scheme, which is the whole of the state. And they select a sample of councils each year to audit, and everyone has to pass.
Just let's not talk about that anymore. You've already made me nervous.
In terms of the land that we've resolved to acquire from DNR, well, it's not DNR anymore, it's the Department of Resources,
DOR.
So we're required to have a meeting with them, like a pre-planning meeting, so we'll be doing that in the near future. In terms of native title claims, we've spoke to our solicitors. I know the Mayor asked me to do a brief on that, or to obtain a brief from our solicitors, but solicitors said, well, it's very hard to provide a brief on native title because it's so complicated and there's so many variations. So the first court hearing for that Jenga people is in March, and it could go on for a number of years. So. But if the court finds there is a connection to the land for any of these Indigenous groups, then council will become involved in the case. We will have to be represented.
So councillors, that was an internal request that I just asked for details on what a potential impact could be for not only council but residents. Native title is not a process that people should be frightened of it, but it is a process that people sometimes don't understand, and it's often its implications are nowhere near as onerous or draconian as people expect. It just changes the legal recognition of, or the framework within which cultural heritage assessments are undertaken. And so certainly not something that I'm frightened of, but there will be ramifications as a result of decisions or determinations made by the native title tribunal around recognising legal claims. So I think it's something that if there's a potential for change around recognition of native title applicants and groups, we need to be mindful of. Now, we as a council corporate entity have got cultural heritage issues, for example, on our road network when we're looking to expand it or change it. We have to undergo cultural heritage clearance, and it's a process that we have to work through. Future economic development has to go through the same process. It's important that we're very mindful and respectful of the process, not look to fight the process, just look to stay informed and ensure that our obligations are being met, and if there is, as can often happen with legal proceedings, a shortfall in information being distributed to the broader public, that we can ensure that that's facilitated, or at least certainly not be distributing legal advice, but awareness of the fact that native title could change. So it's certainly not something that I want on our agenda in terms of, wow, it's big and scary. It's, in a lot of cases, it's just legal posturing. But at some point in the future, if there is a change and a recognition of another native title applicant to this area, then that certainly will have a bearing on all manner of business activities for council. So that's why it's on there, and I would suspect that from time to time it will just reappear in our CEO, Deputy CEO briefs if there's a change or an outcome from a legal proceeding that's relevant to it. I don't envisage the need to be involved until such time as that hearing in March.
The Redwood Drive has finally been gazetted, so that's the land through the Pony Club. So that we received that last week as notification.
Does that, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, does that, through Mr. Mayor, does that access some of those blocks that come into Braeside Lane or not?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's, it only go, the road goes up. Do we still have that? No. Yes. Easy for sure. So cemetery is here. That's the rest on toilets. So Redwood Drive goes up to here presently. No, to here. So that's the golf course, and that's the Pony Club. So what will happen now? It goes to here, and it goes along this fence line, and then up to around here. So that would be Redwood Drive. So we go down the solar farm fence, across the bottom of the Pony Club, and out to the highway. And it accesses this parcel first. But there is road reserve through here, so that would access other parcels.
So Councillor People should be pleased to know that adds to our road.
Very pleased, Mr Mayor.
Note that it's a hobby of yours to keep an eye on our road network, so that's new road.
Does it end at the creek, or does it keep going through? That's Lagoon Creek.
The new road opening ends at, I don't think that's Lagoon Creek, I think that's the bore that's free flowing.
That's correct.
There's a free flowing bore here that is running down into the creek. So Lagoon Creek is here.
Yeah.
So Brayside Lane is here. And then there's a road going off there into these parcels. Notice this here, there's a road there. So there's all small blocks in this area. Numerous small blocks.
Okay. So we're happy, that's what that is.
So that's the new road. Just so the boundary realignment project that went to the minister just before Christmas. So we're waiting to hear. The minister accepts it. We will then go to the change commissioner. We will then decide what process. So it could be whether he just agrees to the changes or whether there'll be a public hearing. I know when we did the one with Blackhall, Tambo Regional Council, there was a public hearing in Blackhall. We had to attend, put our case, and any landholders could come along and put their case as well. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions? Being none, I'll adjourn the meeting at 10:14 a.m. for morning tea, at which time we will be joined by representatives from Real Planning. Welcome. Let's have a cup of